I was a teacher here. I came in 1970. I was an English teacher. These old students of mine, wonderful students, full of life, imagination, humour, I had the privilege of teaching them. We used to go out for walks. I used to take the class out. First walk we took was in the churchyard, right opposite the school, St Dunstan's churchyard. And I asked the students to write about what they saw around them. These young people sat down on the benches and they wrote. And there was one poem, which I'm going to read to you, which was written by a girl called Leslie. So here's the poem, Autumn Morning in Stepney Churchyard, written almost exactly 50 years ago. The church was standing in a spot where the light of 1,000 candles was glowing in the mist of the morning, and the faint beams of sunlight came through, and the cold air was gently overflowing, and in a second it was gone.
The churchyard was dead, and the birds only were there, and the leaves were falling, 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 and the dew that lay by the ever lay leaves in the fainting into the background to die.
Thank you, that's brilliant. Thank you very much.
It was the poem, I think, that set me thinking, my God, these young people can really write. We want to make sure that people know that they can write, that their writing is properly recognised.
We're right in the heart of London, and it just feels like you're in the countryside, and hearing the birds and seeing the trees and ancient gravestones, and just have a look around in silence. The most important thing is just have a little think about where we are and what it means. So if we could just have a few moments of contemplation.
We got these poems together with Ron's photos, and we showed the collection to the head teacher and the governing body. At first they seemed relatively interested, but when they read the poems, they didn't really like many of them because they said the poems were too gloomy. They gave the wrong side of life, that poems should be always optimistic and happy. I mean, I didn't agree with them and I tried to argue my case, but in the end, they forbade me from publishing them.
I wasn't into English. I used to enjoy the writing element of it, but I didn't really enjoy the class because it was just sit at the desk. And so when Chris came in, it was really his energy, as you can see even from today, his energy is so high, and his enthusiasm about the word and poetry especially. And somehow we just got the bug from him. Because I remember the first lessons that we had, and it was like, Chris, I can't do this. Think about empathy and, how do I feel about this? It's not something, it was alien to me. I was a sports person. I just didn't do any of that. But he gradually managed to get under our skin and pull it out of us. And it just started to flow, and it was a real moment,
Look around you, see what you can see, and write what you see, and everybody will notice something different. Our object is to look at people, to look at what's going on in the street, and to look around us.
I think Stepney is a very smoky place, but I like it. People in Stepney do things wrong, but I like them. Everything in Stepney has its disadvantages, but I like it. It doesn't have clean air like the country, but I like it. The buildings are old and cold, but I like them. The summer isn't very hot, but I like it.
We were just really interested in what he was saying. So I think, and he didn't stand behind a blackboard, you know, tapping away or writing away what we're doing and rubbing it out. And he wasn't saying, oh, you sit up and stop fiddling and you do that and you do that. He didn't do it. Didn't bring any of that into the classroom because I don't think he needed to. Because he was there talking about the poetry, and we were all we were just like, you know, oh my God, this is amazing, you know. Whereas other teachers, like, well, you know, and also, you know, it wasn't about the grammar, it wasn't about, you know, whether you got the capital letter, it wasn't about any of that. It was just about the poems. So
just the enjoyment of it.
Yeah, just, you know, just hearing it and hearing the words and having the imagination for it and just everything around that was coming out. So all those nitty gritty bits weren't in it. For that, I think that's why we thought he's the man. Yeah.
Myself and the photographer Ron McCormick got these poems together in a little collection which was eventually published as Stepney Words. That's Ron's photo there. You see the cranes and the docks. That's what it was like then. I mean, the docks were just closing down. And remember that this was a time of enormous industrial activity. I mean, the dockers were always on strike because they were fighting what was called containerisation. There'd been a massive dustman strike. You know, the garbage was everywhere. And the postmen had been on strike. There'd been a long, long strike of postmen. So strikes were very common. Then when the school heard about the book of poems, I was sacked. I was told that my contract would end at the end of the term. I mean, they didn't sack me on the spot. They said, you work until the end of, you know, July, and then you've got to go. That's it. And I mean, I tried to defend myself, but that was it.
And that's when the school went mental.
Do you want to pick up the story?
That's when the school went absolutely off the scale. And those that had worked closely with Chris, particularly in the poetry sphere, we were really, really a strong sense of injustice, losing a good teacher, but more importantly, giving everyone that lovely opportunity, that platform to be quite expressive and creative, was suddenly shut down. And people were feeling quite free of writing, and it was opening up lots and lots of possibilities, you know. This is not just going to go through and we're not going to not do anything. We're going to react to this. We're not going to react. We're passionate about this. And what happened, the upper school arranged a strike. Because we were in strike city anyway. Everyone was striking, and it was like, well, you say you strike, because that's what you do. All right, it was far more reaching, far deeper, and it had a big impact. So that morning we arrived at school on the pretext of going into school, but nobody crossed the gate. Nobody went in. We stood outside on the green, which I've lost my bearings, would be over there, wouldn't it? Yeah. And we mustered outside until we formulated what we were going to do. But we wouldn't go in. And we literally got ourselves walking, and we walked down as far as, I think the main thing was going right along the embankment down to Trafalgar Square. Yeah. So there we went.
It was in all the papers.
In all the local news, in all the papers, we had film crew. We even had solidarity with some local schools. So Tower Hamlets Girls, I think St Paul's Way, Stepney Green Boys, and it really was quite empowering. It was incredible, wasn't it?
It was, but also I think we couldn't understand why would he be sacked for publishing a book of our poems.
Yes.
Obviously there was all the political stuff going on, but 11-year-old naivety thought, well, why? But he's a really good teacher. But why did they sack him?
Yeah. But although the governors had said it was doom and gloom, a lot of what was going on around us was doom and gloom. That's not.
That's the time. It's time for break.
Oh, it's not.
Where's the food? Where's the wine?
Imaginative empathy is using your imagination to actually become somebody else in your mind, in your imagination. And I found that these young people had this power in spadefuls, particularly when they looked at the elderly, the rejected, the poor, the struggling in the community around them.
Came over way back in the 17th century, working for the people that owned this house.
It has affected me. I believe, personally, it has affected me. Certainly in terms of the stance of fairness and morality in the way I deal with people. And it's lost me a few jobs because I don't take people telling me what to do unnecessarily, or I don't agree with things. So it has cost me a few times, but I think it gave us confidence to be who we are, because writing can do that. And it also gave us that sense of fairness because we won, if you like. Chris got reinstated.
Number 60, what was you?
The students are very, very responsive and thoughtful about the memories that this place carries.
Absolutely.
Interestingly, this also brought out very difficult stories about living in Stepney, and I think it's always very important to find ways to bring out those voices, to enable those voices to speak.
Even though I'm not saying what actually happened, I'm telling my story in the form of a poem, and poems are art. So I think it's nice to speak up about things and tell you how life really is over here, and how the old teacher, he got kicked out just for telling students you can speak up, and it doesn't all have to be sunshines and rainbows, because let's face it, Stepney is not all sunshine and rainbows. It is gloomy, it is rude, it's sometimes not nice. I like hearing about everyone's thoughts, because it's not just our thoughts that matter, it's everyone's thoughts. So I want to hear other people's perspective on things as well.
I think Chris has extraordinary charisma, and that's very appealing to students. He also has enormous humility, and he genuinely listens to them and loves what they do.
Oh, that's beautiful. Try and shape the lines a bit more.
Yeah.
But the actual images are really strong, really powerful.
I just feel I'm so pleased that you even want to come back. And I think with your legacy, Chris, your legacy is phenomenal. I mean, what you were encouraging kids to do in 1971, and which now is our staple diet and what we do. And it's crazy to think that back then you were seen as some sort of sinister force or groundbreaking force. I mean, well, you were when we reflect on that positively, but then to be in some way treated in the manner in which you were, you know, it's an absolute disgrace that it was allowed to happen.
50 years on, it's a different world. Walking around this school now, meeting some of Paul's colleagues and talking with the students and just feeling a completely different atmosphere. What's written on the walls, the paintings, the whole vibration of the school is completely different to what I remember it. I mean, I remember it as a much more repressive and conservative place. And I feel so lucky 50 years later to be able to come here and see the scope of change and the atmosphere of humanism which completely dominates every part of the school. It's been wonderful for me.
Everything we encounter changes us. What about the stories you've heard about the strike? What about the other things that have happened to you during this week? What about what you've written about? What's affected you? So you're really thinking about what is particular to you, and what would you want to tell the world about who you are right now, living in Stepney?
The rest of the day is a mystery, just like my history. Lost in time.
Lovely, lovely.
That use of the cadence, you know, the falling away. Time. It's very beautiful. It's very skillful too.
Should we hear it one more time?
Lost in time. Some may say that there's only one way looking at Stepney. Well, we have various ways. Building blocks standing there greeting us since 1906. Bombed buildings and debris making snow angels in the ground. Lost in time. We would dream about regeneration, where the buildings could be reused instead of looked at. Lost in time. The rest of the day is a mystery, just like my history. Lost in time.
Oh, I love that line. The rest of the day is lost in history. What is it, sorry?
Is a mystery.
It is a mystery. Why is it a mystery?
It's been a remarkable experience watching the class of 71 and the class of 2021 interact and talk to each other, not only about their experiences of both living in Stepney in 1971 and in 2021, but also about ideas about poetry and about writing and about the potential of thinking about some of the kind of ideas that were being generated in the workshops.
You know what I wish? I wish I was 50 years younger and walking into this school for the first time as a young teacher. I think about that, and it just gives me a tremendous thirst to be able to be a part of the work that Paul is doing here.
I dream of the time when the church bell chimes through the fields of grassy green lime.
Oh, grassy green lime. Grassy green lime. Lime.
Yeah.
Like L-I-M-E. Oh. If you're going to perform that poem, what does it need? What does that poem need that the others haven't? It's completely different. Yeah?
Have emphasis throughout each sentence, because I could only remember the last word he was saying.
Do you like this place? Do you love this place? Say it as if you love this place, yeah? Because I think there's a lot of energy in that words, those words.
You mustn't be afraid of loving somewhere.
Yeah, this is your place. Own it. This is your place. Splattered.
Yeah.
And all the words that you've got there, they're your words. Yeah. You can even see the words appear, yeah? Upward inflection, throw it up in the air. The whole poem, let's have it one more time, but I want you to, because it's quite short, isn't it?
And
to
remember,
throw it upwards.
Even though there are things about the place you don't like, there may be even things about the place which fill you with all kinds of worry and sadness, that doesn't mean to say you don't still love it, you know, because it's a part of you. It's in your flesh.
Okay, everyone close your eyes. And Farron, you can just do it how you want to, but use upward inflection and you're throwing it, everything up in the air.
Modern Stepney, a gleeful place covered and splattered with people of mixed race, golden leaves falling like flakes on the freezing tiny lakes. Through the dew you can find the true colours of Stepney, yet time goes fast, and now the shadows of the past are forever memories to last. I dream of the time when the church bell chimes through the fields of grassy green lime.
Through the fields of grassy green lime. You know, celebrate it. That's what I mean. That poem needs a celebration. Last line for me. Close our eyes. Last line.
Through the fields of grassy green lime.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Much better. Yeah.
If you have an opportunity like this at any other time, and 100% take it.
And I think I honestly, at the start, I'm not gonna lie, I only did this to get out of class. But now that I've done it, I honestly want to do more of it because it's been such a great experience. And I'm so happy I did it.
It's a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think other schools in Stepney should have the opportunity to see their history and create stories or poems.
And we can see it in our English work as well. Our English work is shot through the roof. It's amazing.
To come back here and feel this in this school fills me with hope. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Chris. We're very humbled to have you here, and I genuinely mean that. It's a real honour, and I'm very grateful that you want to come back, and hopefully it won't be the last time now, and it certainly won't be another 50 years. Thanks, Chris. Thank you so much. Thanks so much.